To the guys group, Nana. How are you doing?
I'm great. How are you guys?
We're doing great.
I like it. I like it.
So the topic we're talking about is mental health, and we wanted to talk to you because you got a female's perspective on mental health. So without further ado, let's get started.
Okay, let's go.
All right. So my first question is, as a male matured, how crucial is it to develop a good grooming habit?
It's important. I guess what does good grooming look like for each person is a little different. Especially like nowadays, I think it changes what society has put out there as what, a man should look like, you know what I'm saying? But as far as just basic hygiene, come on now. You need to look good, you need to smell good, or whatever, but what that look like for each individual person is a little different.
Okay. And then continuing on, why is it important for a male to mature physically, emotionally, and mentally as they progress through life?
Maturity, man, that's a tricky thing. I think a lot of guys, they always say guys mature a little bit later than the females and stuff like that. But, we are all children of God, and I don't think God does anything too late. So I don't think it's any issue if a guy is when you're looking at a 15-year-old guy and a 15-year-old female, and they're different in maturity level. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just the Lord is still working on them and stuff like that. But I do think it's important for guys to mature because no matter what you're gonna do in life, so professionally, in our family, whatever, you need to have a sense of maturity so you can handle conversations, situations a little bit better. Because sometimes our intellectual intelligence is lacking, so the way we respond to things is a bit like, on the off side because we haven't yet matured and learned how to handle situations. So it's important for us to mature and learn from experiences from our past experiences and also like other people's experiences.
Okay. So, as a male's perspective, some guys.
Females?
What? Let me finish.
Oh.
So, some guys think that they're at a mature level, but from a female's perspective, how can you tell if a man has matured or like progressed in their life?
How they come at me, like the way they respond to me, the way they speak to another female, right then and there. Like somebody comes and says, "Hey, shorty," or "What's up, girl?" Like obviously you haven't learned what it means to speak to a woman, So it's just the way they carry themselves, the way they speak. You can tell like this brother still got some growing up to do, and it's okay. I'm gonna pray for you.
All right. And then progressing with that, like post high school, what type of education / knowledge should a male pursue that is deemed essential for today? So like, what would you recommend for somebody who's like graduating high school? Like, what should they pursue in terms of essential education?
So I think that's different for everyone. I am not the traditionalist. I think like everybody needs to have a bachelor's, master's, PhD in order to be successful in life. What history has taught us is that degree don't really mean squat. I mean, look at 2020 and 2021, right? So I think it's all about figuring out what exactly that you want to do and having a plan, right? So it's not necessarily, okay, I need to go to college or whatever. And sometimes you might need a break. Like you might need a year or 2 year just working to figure it out. I think sometimes we put so much pressure on ourselves to have like this end goal, and just to say I have something to do, like be like, hey, what you want to do when you grow up? And I want to be a doctor, da, 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 da. But it's just so you can have something to say, and it's not really what you know that you want to do. So it's okay sometimes to just work, make some money, figure out what you want to do, and then figure out how to get there. So whether that's with an education, working with somebody, getting some mentorships, taking a class here and there, doing some webinars, workshops, whatever that may look like. But I feel like for me, I think that's what needs to be done to make sure that you're not 15, 20 years into a career that you really hate just because you were like pressured to figure it out.
Okay.
Amen.
And going off of that answer, like how does one not stray away from their goals if they choose to like, go that different route, like, go with the webinars, go with the other talents and stuff? How do they like stay focused and also seek out the education later on, like, oh, I'm going to do this in 5 years, go to school, but then like 5 years later, they're still doing the same thing. Like, how do you keep somebody on the right path, like continuing on that seeking that pursuit, I guess, is what I'm
You
trying
gotta
to say.
always self-check, man. Like whatever your goals are, like so you say, okay, 3 months is what I'm gonna do. 3 months get here, and then you gotta go back and say, okay, this is what I said I'm gonna do. And that's why it's good to write down your goals too, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you write down these are the list of things that I wanna do, and when do you wanna get them done? So when that time comes, if you didn't realize those goals, so now it's time to backtrack and see, okay, what did I do? What didn't I do to get there? What mistakes did I make? What can I learn from that so that I can improve on that and grow? But a lot of time we're just going through emotions and time is just going by and we're just doing things, not really trying to learn from our experiences. That's how we grow. So failing is great because you can learn a lot from your failures. You can learn what you did wrong, you know, how did you do it wrong, what can you do differently and stuff like that, and take that and try again. And if you fail again, it's okay. Now pick up what did you learn from that one so you can do things differently. So if it took you 15 times to get it right, that's okay, but just making sure that you're learning from it and you're not just doing the exact same thing the exact same way over and over again.
Okay. And going off of that is, why is it crucial for a man to be confident?
Oh, confident is like, it's like ultimate swag. You know what I'm saying? Like if a guy, you know, comes and then he doesn't have confidence, because you have to be confident in yourself and what you know and what you do. So somebody else can't be like, oh yeah, but for yourself and you're just like, oh yeah, you know, it gotta come from you first, because once you have that confidence, then you exude respect from other people.
Right.
And then people's gonna be like, yo, I understand, yeah, that guy know what he's talking about and stuff like that. Even if you really don't, even if you like faking it, but because of the confidence, you can go for a little bit and be like, okay.
Because we've been talking about confidence in a lot of our meetings, but like from a female's perspective, how would you want a male to like develop confidence? What would you suggest they do?
For them to develop the confidence, I mean, I don't know. I think it's just working on themselves and getting to know who they are, what they like, don't like, knowing their strengths and weaknesses, and still, even in their weaknesses, being able to speak to it and not necessarily like shy away from their weaknesses, but being able to say, you know what, I struggle with da 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 da, but it's okay, I'm learning and da 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 da, and that's confidence in itself as well.
Okay. And then, again, from the female's perspective, how do you know that's real confidence, and how do you know like this guy's faking it? There's something up with him. Like, how can you tell the difference?
I mean, for me, it's easy because it's just like, you just won't smoke, my friend.
Mm-hmm.
Like, but if you want to keep trying, okay. But like for me, I'm not even really into that conversation at all because I already know that person don't really know what they're talking about. But you know, just to boost their own ego, you just let them speak. Okay.
So, why is it that many men are labeled nice guys and they're not being successful in maintaining a relationship?
Wow. Listen, there's nothing wrong with being a nice guy, but I don't think the issue is girls necessarily, women, okay, right? So a woman doesn't necessarily go after a bad guy, right? So these females that are going after these so-called bad guys themselves, they have their own issues that they're struggling with. So if you find a female that's wholesome, found herself complete, she's gonna want you to pursue her, you know. But if a female is not necessarily going for you because you're too nice, then there's not anything wrong with you. It's that other person. So like, don't be like, oh no, I have to change who I am now to fit what this person wants. Like, nah, you're not meant to be that. You know, walk in your lane, walk in your confidence, because that's who God created you to be. And you can be phenomenal, great guy, you know, wholesome, a caretaker, you know, and find a phenomenal woman that's gonna match that. Again, like I said, it's a woman, not a little girl.
Right. But why is it like the narrative now is that like girls are pursuing like the thugs and then the guys
Again,
are
that's females who have yet to become women.
Okay. Alright.
So you think females haven't matured up yet?
Yeah.
No, they haven't. I mean, somebody that's pursuing a thug or a bad boy, like that's a female who have yet to find out who she is, what she's looking for. She has some things she's looking for to fill, and looking for that in that person.
Cause that's
you know
what
I'm
I've
saying?
always been saying. I've been saying that females are not matured at doing it.
Alright. So let's go back into the education portion again. So like, why is it so important for a male to have financial literacy, whether he's like single or like pursuing a relationship and trying to be in a relationship? Why is it so important to be financial literate?
Money runs the world, my friend. Everything you need to work. Like, yeah, we're Christians, but in order to survive in this world, we need money. Everything that we do is based on currency. So until you speak that language of currency, how master it, right? And not let it master you. So that's the thing I think a lot of people struggle with, whether it's men or women. They allow money to run them versus the other way around. You can make money work for you, right? In every facet of life, where it's not like you're constantly chasing money, but you're here chilling, relaxing, while that money is multiplying, duplicating for itself. Because in order to be successful, you need to be able to learn how to make money work for you.
Okay. Like, would you advise a male to be financial literate before getting into a serious relationship? Or
Yes.
Elaborate.
Yes. Relationships are expensive. You know, to maintain a relationship is expensive. Whether you're going the cheap route. When I was dating my husband, we were like, I was more financial stable than he was and stuff like that. And because I was the female in that relationship, and never to like feel like he wasn't man enough, I wouldn't necessarily seek materialistic things. So we were to be creative or whatnot, but it was still important for him to step up his financial game to, you know, or whatnot. But it's not necessarily about making more money than me, but it's just being able to stand on your own, you know? So I've always had the perspective is when we're together, what's mine is yours, what's yours is mine. But at the same time, you have to come to the table with something. You can't come with nothing in your hand and expect to get, you know, a trophy wife and like, you know, she's gonna do this and do that, but
So like, what topics in financial literacy would you advise the guys to pursue?
Everything, as much as you can, like literally, it's just with the basics of money, like, you know, just the basics. Like if you're not into investments or whatever it may be, fine. But then, what can you do to make money outside of just working 9 to 5, right? Because that's only one stream of income. It's finding multiple streams of income without having to work 5, 6, 7 jobs, right? It's like having your money work for you. So if you're not into investment, then what other things can you do in order to make your money multiply? So it's learning the basics of the money, and then when you have that money, what do you do with it instead of just spending it? Because a lot of people make a lot of money, but they don't have anything to look to say, this is what I work for, you know? They make 6 figures, 7 figures, but then when you look at their bank account, it's like, what? So it's not necessarily how much you make, but it's how you manage it.
Okay. And then going by off of that, can you stress the importance of an emergency fund? Like, can you tell what an emergency fund is and stress why it's so important for like to have one?
It's so important. So emergency fund is like having like, I say 6 months or more of like all your expenses, right? So when you do a budget of how much money is coming in and how much money is going out. So you have a list of all the stuff that you have going out, and so you have a total amount, and then multiply it by 6 months, right? And so you have that away, you don't touch it. Because how much you get sick, get in a car accident, whatever, something happened, you lose your job, COVID-19 happened, right? A lot of people lost their job. A lot of people didn't have emergency funds. A lot of people didn't have even like $1,000 in savings. And so really quickly, a lot of people lost their houses, this, that. That's why it's important, because you just never know what's gonna happen, and that money is there for an emergency. You don't touch it, you don't mess with it, you don't breathe on it, you just let it sit, and when that emergency comes, it's there to use.
Okay. Alright. And then going further into the conversation of like for a male, like what are the other essential qualities a male should continue to strive for? Like if you see a person, what other qualities should you suggest a male should have?
First thing for me is you gotta be a man of God. You gotta be pursuing God, like wholeheartedly, man. And I think sometimes it's so hard to find that because men try to be so strong, and it's like even in the pursuit of God, they wanna be like, you know, I don't wanna like let go, so I want people to see me as a strong person. But I think it is the most wonderful thing. Like I get so attracted to a guy that's just so in love with God, like literally, where you can see them like focus so much on God, like oh my gosh, I'm like, oh yes, praise the Lord, you know. I think that's number one. Number two is just having a sense of who you are and what you want to do, so that people can't easily, you know, play with your like ego and your confidence and stuff like that. Having a sense of who you are and being motivated. Like no one wants a Nike policy, right? It's not about having $millions, but be motivated to want to do some stuff and have goals and stuff like in life to, hey, this is what I want to do, blah, 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 and always striving to do more and growing and being able to be a sponge to learn.
Alright. Because our topic right now is mental health, especially for the guys. Because one thing guys don't like talking about is their mental health and their feelings.
Mm-hmm.
How would you advise a guy to like check up on their mental health? What would you give them advice to like check on themselves? How to like keep their emotions intact? What would you tell them?
So I mean, somebody asks you what's wrong. If somebody asks you if something is okay, like it's okay to say you're not okay. Like first of all, it's okay for us not to be okay. Like sometimes it's just like I'm fine. How are you? I'm fine. But are you really? Just take some time and reflect on how you really are. Like check yourself. Like how are you and stuff like that. So whether that's just like some self-meditation or whatever it may be, you gotta be in tune with your own feelings. Even if you don't want to share that with everybody, but for yourself, you gotta know how you are. Because if you don't know if you're not well, that's where you can easily go on the extreme and something wrong can really happen. So I think it's so super important for guys to check on themselves, and not be fine is okay too, as long as you know you're not fine.
And going by off of that, so you would say like if a man's not mentally stable, he should not get into a relationship, correct?
You guys talk about relationships a lot, I hear, but
That's what keep them attention.
I think wholeness means being okay in all aspects of life, right? So yeah, I mean you're gonna come with the relationship, you gotta come as one whole, like not a half. When two people get together, it's not half makes one. It's one comes together makes one. And so therefore, if you are incomplete, whether it's mental, financially, spiritual, whatever that may be, that is going to be a gap in your relationship, and that's gonna impact that other person unfairly, right? Because it's not fair to them to weigh them down with your own shortcomings. So it's one thing when we are working together towards a common goal. I'm gonna match your shortcomings and whatnot, but it's a different when there's like a hole because it's not complete and it's not healed. Now that like there's an issue of trust, even though I've never done anything to make you not trust me, but it's because of stuff that I haven't dealt with that's making me do that. Or like I have anger issues, so I constantly take my anger out on you. Nothing you did, it might be the most smallest thing, but because I have never dealt with that issue, now I'm gonna take it out on you. So that's why it's not okay if you're not whole yet. In whatever that's missing for that person, it's not good to be involved with anyone else. So that goes for male or female. You gotta make sure you're 100% okay, whole before you go someone else. You can't be at 95, 93. You gotta be at 100.
Okay. And then I promise you, this is my last relationship question. All right. So what are some green flags males should look for a female and vice versa?
Green
flags.
Green flag.
Let's say green and red flags. You cut it all out. Yeah. So
A green flag. So green flags for a woman, like a woman that's after God's own heart. For real. And not like come to church looking real cute and does a little cutesy worship. I'm not talking about somebody who's like wholeheartedly after God. And how would you know is you gotta be after God's heart too. Like you can't find it if you don't even know what it looks like. So you gotta know what it looked like. And then number two is just somebody like, I think what I had said earlier for the guys, the same thing for the female, is just a woman knowing who she is, what she's looking for, what she has to offer and stuff like that. Like for her to have confidence in who she is and like she's not gonna take crap from you. And the same thing, she expects you to do certain things, and that's the same thing, she's gonna hold herself in that same standard. And somebody that like can check themselves, like if they have their own issues or whatever, they can say, yo, this is what I did or this is what I'm struggling with, and they can speak to that. And they're not like arrogant or prideful about stuff that they've gone through and stuff. And being whole. The woman gotta be whole, man. Y'all looking a lot of empty females. That's why y'all getting these females that want thugs, because they not whole. So look for holistic females, and that's like, okay, that's that woman right there.
And then, like, what some red flags should we avoid?
Red flags. The ones that are after thugs. Okay.
Any more red flags we should look out for?
There's so many. Like, I feel like there's a lot of red flags to look for, and I think it's different for everybody because everybody, can tolerate different things. Some people, they just can't be with somebody that's like physically overweight. That's for them. That's a red flag. And I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. That's just preferences. Like if that's someone's preference, that's somebody's preference, So just whatever your preferences are, just make sure the same standard or the same thing you're looking for, you got something to offer too that's balanced. Like that's what I'm saying.
Okay. And then going off of like the mental health, seeking a relationship, and back to financial literacy, I want to make an emphasis on financial literacy. We talked about the emergency fund. What other aspects of financial literacy should we seek out in order to become progressive in financial literacy in general?
I think learning how to be an investor is super important. And what does that look like for everybody is different. So whether that's being an investor in other businesses or in the stock market or just learning how to do some trade off, like just being an investor. Because it's not, I think now we're learning that it's not necessarily smart to have 5 jobs anymore. Like our parents, great grandparents, and stuff like that. So we have to be wiser. We have to learn from our parents and grandparents. So now that we're learning, it's like, okay, so you got one job, or you have more than one job, but you have like, I guess, side hustles or whatever. And so, but they don't necessarily like take so much of your time that you can be present for your family, have a balanced life. So it's like, learn to be smart with your money. So with investing, because investing is one of the greatest like opportunities out there right now, that you can do so much with your money without doing much, like as far as time consuming. So you can have like 7, 8 streams of income, and you may be investing like 1 hour a week in each one of them.
Okay.
Is that your main source of income?
Right. And then I remember, like, one time you had a meeting, you had like book recommendations on guys to invest and be financial literate. Does any of those books come to mind right now? Or?
Dave Ramsey. If you don't know who Dave Ramsey is, get to know that man. That man is gonna get you straight. Like that's the basic. Like he'll start with you checking yourself. Like the issues where people have issues with financial literacy, financial issues is because of their way of thinking. So he just attacks that. So you can change how you think. So with money and stuff like that, so you can be better. Like he has podcasts, books, so many. Total Money Makeover, the first book, go read that. Start with that one.
Alright, and then I think you're forgetting one big one. Why you?
Why what?
University YouTube.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
YouTube University.
Yeah.
That's the big one you kept emphasizing.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff out there on YouTube. It's just finding out what works for you, who you click with, who you feel like is a great person. I think there's a lot of stuff out there now, like so many resources for you guys. So if you guys don't use them, that's you. But there's so much stuff out there.
Okay. Well, Nanay, that's all my questions on a female's perspective of what a man should conduct himself. I'm done. Anybody got questions for Nanay?
What up, Watson?
What up? So, my question is, do you believe that, as a female, that, when you're in so a male and a female are in a relationship, but they're not nowhere close to marriage or engagement, do you believe that it's a red flag if a female or a male believes that their relationship comes first before before family?
Okay, so what's the point of getting in a relationship then? Like that's my thing. Like I feel like whenever somebody gets in a relationship, you have to have like purpose. It has to be a purpose. You have to be purposeful in your relationship. So at the end of the day, as Christians, we get in a relationship to get married. So if you're not gonna get married, then what are you doing? You're playing with each other's hearts and playing with each other's eternity.
No, I'm saying like it could lead to marriage, but I'm saying in the beginning of the relationship, do you feel like family should still come first before each other?
What do you mean family? Like each other's individual, like family side, or what? Like what are you saying?
Each other's family, like their parents, their parents and their siblings.
Should the siblings come before that relationship early on?
Yeah, like let's say that they had an emergency, would you believe that they would still have to make sure they take care of that?
Okay, so if I'm with somebody, right, and I'm with that person because I want to marry them, and something comes in their family side, I'm gonna make sure he's there for their family and I'm there with him, supporting him.
Yeah.
At the end of the day.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying, like as being purposeful in your relationship, because at the end of the day, that's what you're looking towards. You're looking for marriage. So if that person is feeling some type of way or asking you to select them, choose one or the other, that's a red flag, bro. That's somebody that you need to get rid of.
See, that's what I'm
like that shouldn't be something that we're fighting over. Like if something happens to my family and my significant other is not like, yo, like what you need me to do in order to like help me on that side, that's not somebody I need to be with.
Right, you have to be supportive, right?
Yeah. Come on now.
That's what I'm talking about.
Any other question? Kenny is quiet over there.
Kenny's thinking.
I think he's thinking. He's thinking.
Anybody got questions?
I'm thinking.
I got a question from Josh. He couldn't be here because he had to work.
Josh had a question, haha.
Yeah, he says, why is it so hard to find true love nowadays?
Oh man. Oh man.
First of all, for Josh, I wish he was here because I need him to be here for me to answer.
I read that word for word too. So.
I think a lot of times we go in just to go in there, like in a relationship without really having this idea of what we're looking for. And so then it's like, because you didn't go in there with being purposeful, you end up hurting yourself, or the other person end up getting hurt and stuff like that. But true love exists, it's out there, but it's like, what are you looking for?
Right.
And are you ready to find that if you find that, right? And how are you gonna handle that? Because true love is out there. There's a lot of females out there, way more females than males, but you guys playing games sometimes.
Who's you guys?
Yeah.
Males.
Who's you guys?
Because you guys are the one who pursues females, correct?
Yeah.
So if you're the one that's initiating it, then you initiate it correctly, then everything that goes wrong, it starts with you.
So isn't your narrative that the male should pursue the female should not pursue the male?
The woman does not pursue men at all, ever.
Why do you want to push that narrative though?
That narrative is because if a woman is pursuing a guy, you better run. That's not godly. God ain't called women to pursue men. When in the Bible you find a woman pursuing a man? One. Tell me one. Tell me one. Tell me one. Yeah, it don't exist. No woman ever was like, yo, daddy, I need a man. Can I go look? These are the few guys I'm looking at. Can I select one of them? It was never that. It was always the other way around. Where the man was ready to get married, and the man was like, oh, I see that. Okay, well, I'm gonna marry that woman. I'm gonna send my kids, blah, 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 send my servant to get her, blah. Okay, so tell me one. Like, does it exist? If a woman is pursuing me, you better run, my brother. Somebody pursuing you. Like, a girl can show you she likes you, but after she shows you she likes you, then you gotta pursue. If she going like hardcore, going out there, you better run. You better run the other direction. You better run.
You hear that saying?
Run all the way. Well, my brother,
that's his
that
mom.
boy, he gonna be good.
Right, that's his mom.
Shoot, my boy ain't gonna be letting no chick pursue him.
Hey, you got your question?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
What are your thoughts on simping?
I don't know what that is. You gotta educate me.
Let's say if a man is pursuing a woman and they go like 120% after a woman, like before getting into a relationship, like showing love, spoiling them, and giving her attention when you're not in a relationship.
Right. What's the purpose? Because we have to have the conversation of where we're going. And it goes back to that. Like, you know, before I got in a relationship with Jacques and he was talking to me, I told him, like, if you are not looking for marriage, don't this is not gonna work. You know what I'm saying? And like, be bold and comment with that conversation. And you have a female and be like, yo, this is what I'm looking for. If she doesn't say that's what she's looking for too, then why are you even investing your time and energy on that? Like, if she's not looking for that, then that's not somebody you need to do that with. But if you know that's what she wants, so whether you are in a relationship, talking, whatever the title is, but at the end of the day, you guys have the same goal, then it's okay to do that. But if you know that's not what she's looking for and you're trying to convince her, bruh, nah, you wasting your time.
Any other questions?
I have a question.
What up?
So how long into the relationship should the parents know about the relationship?
For the guys, I think from the jump,
From the
you should, yeah, like the guy for me, if you know you're talking to somebody, like it's okay to like have a casual conversation with your dad, like, yo, daddy, like this girl, like I'm interested in talking to her, like this is she catching my eye and what you think? Because I think the parents have godly wisdom that they can at least like, you know, hey, be cautious of this, or okay, let's see how that goes or whatever. But I think you can have the casual conversation on, hey, I'm, you know, looking to speak to what you think about that, like from the jump. And then, but when I think the more formal side and stuff like that is like after y'all in the talking stage and you realize, okay, for real, I want to pursue her. Again, like I said, this is being purposeful in your relationship. At the end of the day, you want to get married. I ain't talking about these little play games, y'all looking to have fun and and smash or hit that, blah. I ain't talking about. I'm talking about being in a purposeful relationship. You have to be real. I'm talking about purposeful relationship, right? So then like when you know, like after talking and you guys ready to like, okay, go on the next point of the relationship, I think it's important for you as the man to have a conversation with her dad or her parents or whatever that may be, to be like, so and so, you know, I'm talking to your daughter and I'm interested in pursuing a relationship with her and stuff like that. I just want you to make sure like what's you know what you think, blah blah blah, and get their respect too. Because if you do that, let me tell you something, man. That parent, they will lift you up, honor you because you did that. But I think now, like, I feel like relationships with engaging parents, like, we've lowered the standard, and we're just like, we're just gonna do our own thing when we get married. We don't let them know. Nah, if you go from the jump, because a lot of these red flags, the parents sometimes will be like, oh no, bro, think something differently. And then 5 years later, you be like, oh, I got my dad was right about that.
Anybody have any more questions?
Yeah.
Okay.
Our female's really busy.
Huh?
Our female's really busy.
And after that, try to get off of other topics of a
Are
relationship.
females really busy?
Yeah.
I don't even know how to answer that question.
Yeah, that's kind of broad, bro.
What do you
But
mean?
busy.
Like, speak to me, brother. What you trying to say? Like, say what you mean. Mean what you say. Cause that's way too out there. Like, that's way too vague for me.
Come back to me.
All right.
So budgeting is really important. Why is it so important for us to really start budgeting? Because a lot of us at our stages, we like to go out and eat versus like buy groceries and make food. Like, why is it so important to budget?
So when you learn how, because what I believe is when you learn how to manage what you have a little bit, when you get bigger, you know how to manage that big one. So it's like knowing, even you make it like $100 a week or whatever, but you know how to manage $100 like from every penny. Then when you're making $500,000, you know how to manage that too because you had the same discipline. It's just building discipline, right?
And the rules of budgeting though, like, so you get your paycheck, how much should you put away, and then how much should you budget from that paycheck that you got for that week?
I think it differs. Like, you know, there's not a set amount for everything. But I think the first thing is, like, you know, if you believe in tithing, take out your tithe, first thing. And then the second thing is take your savings part out first. Like, whether that's 10%, 5%, 15%, whatever that is, take that out and put it in your savings.
Okay.
And then distribute whatever else. Because I feel like when you have that money, you're going to create things to spend even though you don't need to. So if you already have that in the savings and stuff like that, so now how you distribute the rest of the funds, whatever's important, unimportant, this and that. And it's all about building discipline. Like, so like, I think you need to enjoy life. So right, you're gonna have a monthly budget, first having fun. So whether that's like going to the movies, going out to eat, whatever that be, that needs to be a category in your budget. And you gotta say, every month I'm gonna spend, you know, like $50. If you're gonna spend $50, once you spend that $50, bro, you gotta say no. Like, if you know you've spent that, if it's the 5th of the month and you spend that whatever $50 and that's what you budgeted, then anybody asks you, you're like, yo, no, I can't.
Okay.
No, I can't. You gotta learn. It's like just building discipline.
Alright. And then going off of like buying groceries for food, like how important is it for a man to learn how to cook?
I don't think it's necessary, like, because if you don't want to cook, you don't have to cook. Even females, some people don't know how to cook. I think it's great to know it. It could be a great, you know, thing to put under your belt, but I don't think it's like necessary to live, like, for you to live to know how to cook.
Well,
I mean, that's my personal opinion. I don't think a man needs to know how to cook. I think it'd be good if you do, but it's not necessary. If you don't, like, you know how to boil some, I might cook some noodles.
Okay. Alright. Any more questions?
Do you believe that that everybody should one day invest into being their own boss? Like,
No, because not everybody has that self-discipline. Being your own boss is very hard. So you have to be able to be self-motivated, have like self-discipline and all of that in place, and constantly be innovative. Not everybody has that. God didn't create everybody to be their own boss. So some people need to learn how to work for someone. Because somebody still needs somebody to pick up the kids. Somebody still needs somebody to watch them. Like, there's still need somebody to have somebody's boss. Like, those options are still gonna be out there. So no, not everybody's gonna work for themselves. It'll be great, but I mean, be honest, I don't think everybody can.
So you personally believe that not everyone can be a boss, but everybody should work 9 to 5 though?
No, not everybody should work a 9 to 5. I didn't say that.
No, but okay. But
I'm saying that not everybody can be their own boss because they lack the self-discipline, motivation, and innovation to be their own boss, right? Because when you have your own business, you're constantly got to be innovating. You got to come up with new ideas. You got to constantly be updating and things like that. Not everybody can do that. And some people, they need, in order for them to succeed, they need somebody to tell them what to do. Like, you know, like, okay, so I'm gonna go to work, I need somebody to tell me, okay, now put that away, do this, da-da-da. Some people you can't, like, when you work for yourself, you gotta be the one to be like, okay, so what do I need to do right now? I need to do this, I need to do that, I need to do da-da-da-da-da. Not everybody can do that.
So how do you know the difference that you're an innovator versus somebody who needs to be told to do something? Like, what is,
If you're unhappy with what you're doing, then find what makes you happy. So, like, see what's, and then, like, when you have those ideas, how are you coming up with those plans? And how are you being able to execute those plans? You know?
and seeing them through, right?
Yeah.
Because some people say they'll do stuff, but then they don't never do it.
Right. So you gotta hold yourself to a certain standard and hold yourself accountable when it doesn't happen. Like, you know, so whatever that accountability is, you got that's what I'm talking about, that self-discipline. Like, you can't be like, yo, I just spend my whole weekend, I didn't get nothing done, and then I'm gonna take myself out this weekend. No, you don't deserve that. You didn't earn that. Like, you know, you didn't make no money this week because you didn't work. So you gotta work. Then, you know, you honor yourself for doing something.
All right. Any more questions, guys? Can you figure out your question yet?
Nah, forget it.
Our females just really busy.
Alright, I'll get you for 5 more minutes. I want to make sure I use it and stuff. Like, how does a man fix his own insecurities when he's in a relationship? Like, you know, a lot of
He
guys.
should feel that he should think that before he gets into a relationship.
And what if he doesn't know?
Well, then he's gonna have a lot of problems.
Alright.
And he's gonna think it's from the female and it's not. It's from him being insecure. Like, you know, if you're insecure, you need to fix that because that comes from some other place, from some other things that happen in your life. Because then it leads to like jealousy, trust issues, all of that. So if you're insecure, fix that, man. Find out what that root of the insecurity come from and fix it.
How did you address it? Because some guys are in denial about it.
Well, first of all, you gotta say that you are insecure.
Well, yeah.
Until you say that, then you're not gonna want to fix it.
But you know, like a lot of times in our Cajun culture, a lot of guys don't like admitting stuff. Back to the whole mental health thing is like, how does a guy admit it? Like, how do we get to that level? Because you know, you can't force change on somebody, but like, I guess you can lead them into that change to realize that hey, there's something needs to be changed. How do we point them in the right direction for that?
Having conversations. I think conversations are important. Like just having open dialogue and stuff like that. You know, and I want to be checked too. So if I'm doing something, I want somebody to come to me and be like, yo, you know, you da 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 da. I'll be like, oh, for real? I never realized I did that. So then I'll be like, okay, so then what? It's like gonna be, okay, now that I realized I did that, what I'm gonna do differently so that I don't do it anymore. Same thing, like, you know, like I mean, all the time I'll be like, yo, Jacques, you know, you do so and so, and be like, oh, stop, for real. I didn't know that. You know, I'm gonna work differently so that doesn't happen anymore.
Okay.
But like you gotta be okay with people telling you when you on your shortcomings. You know, but then if you're insecure, then that may make you feel some type of way. Then you're like, I don't feel. So you gotta make sure that's okay though. Like you gotta be good. You gotta be good first before you bring somebody else into that equation. Because relationships are complicated already. So being whole makes things a lot easier, man.
Right.
Going off of that, is like when you receive criticism, how do you know that the criticism is actually something you need to work on versus somebody just being spiteful towards you?
Because a person is coming. It depends on who the person is coming from. If it's somebody you love and trust, then why would you think that? Right?
Mm-hmm.
So if it's coming from my husband, why would I be like, yo, he's just being spiteful? Now we don't have a toxic relationship, so why anything my husband tells me, I'm gonna take it to heart.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because it's coming from a place of love. I mean, I may not receive it well, or it might hurt when I hear it, but it don't mean it's not true.
Yeah.
So I gotta be okay and put my ego aside and address it and change accordingly or compromise, whatever it needs to be, like, you know, and handle that. But it's all about that person knowing who that person is in their relationship to you and going from there. I mean, there's people that might say things just to be spiteful, but are they somebody that really love you and really somebody that's close to you like that?
Okay. It's really crazy when you really think about it though. It's like, yeah, you gotta separate what's actually spiteful and what's actually somebody trying to help you
Yeah.
and everything. But,
I mean, you can take what they say, because if it's somebody being spiteful though, there might be some truth behind it.
mm-hmm.
So you gotta take what they say and then you gotta be like, yo, self-analyze and be like, okay, so let me look at my life. Am I really like this and stuff like that? And if you don't really see any of what they're saying, any of it, then okay, move on. But if you find even like 5%, and then look at that 5% and see, okay, where did that come from? And address, you know, and change it accordingly.
Alright. And then going off of criticism, what is your opinion now about a lot of companies trying to give people time off for mental health because somebody said something on them on social media? What is your opinion on that?
I think it's important to make sure we're okay though. Like I feel like there's a lot of like, especially now that like, you know, technology is so widespread, like there's a lot of like bullies behind the keyboard. Like, so rather that, you know, I think sometimes we minimize mental health, but the same thing if like, you know, you got into an accident or something like that, or you got hurt, you broke a leg, the company's gonna give you time off to, you know, heal accordingly. So if your mental gotta heal, you gotta heal.
Yeah, but like, what if like somebody who says like I can't come into work today because such and such said something about me on Facebook, and they needed that time off just to.
If it hurts them, if because we don't know, like some hurt is objective, like you know it's subjective, like you can't measure hurt, you know. So how hurt someone is, you can't. Like if I say I'm in pain, you don't know how much pain I'm in. There's no way for you to measure and say, okay, my pain level is a 15. It's all about what I feel. So it's the same thing. So my pain emotionally, you can't measure it either. So if I tell you I'm in pain, you have to go off of that. If I'm in excruciating pain, I can't walk and you gotta take my word for it. To you, it may seem like that's nothing.
Right.
But because that's how it hurts me, you gotta respect that as my boss. Same thing with my mental.
Right, but what does it become a point where people take advantage of it and just keep saying like I can't come in, I can't.
Hey, the job gotta put guidelines aside. Like they have to have their own policy and stuff like that, you know. And you have so many days out of like PTO, sick days or whatever. So however you use that, whether you want to use that, you know, just to have fun or really sick, that's up to you. But once that's done, it's done.
Right. So again, what if like they can't fix what they're trying to go through and then all their time is up? Like what would you advise them to do in order to make sure they're straight before going back to work if they're still in pain?
Get a counselor, get somebody to talk to, go speak to someone, and help you through that. You know, there's professionals out there that's ready to help you, like, you know, speak through your emotions and thoughts and hurt and stuff like that and deal with them. So go to one of them.
Okay. No, I always say that because a lot of times, especially in like professional sports and stuff, a lot of the athletes are saying like, oh, I can't come in or play because, you know, I'm not feeling right because of what social media said about me.
Simmons.
Right, but like
That's an excuse for him.
If they need him to play in order for them to get to the finals, this or that, this championship, it's like when does the person of power make a decision saying like, all right, we got to cut this person because I'm not seeing an improvement, like, you know.
I mean, it's up to them. I mean, that's not my place to say because I don't know like what those guidelines. I don't think that's something that they have any guidelines on because like, you know, now that mental health is something that more people are being open about. I think now it's being like, okay, now we need to like address it. But I think like we minimize people's mental health as like, okay, you need to just suck it up and get over it. Some people can just suck it up and get over it.
Right.
You know?
Alright. Any final questions for Nanay? Last chance. Alright. Well, thank you, Nanay, for coming and talking to us and everything. We really appreciate it.
Anytime.
Guys, take this to heart. This is going to be on YouTube, so you guys can use it for review.
Have fun, y'all.
Yeah,
Thank you for having me.
Alright. You can go to our phones.